Welcome to the Three Generations. I'm Julia, your Gen Xer, and I'm here with Jess, our millennial voice, and Marie, our seasoned boomer.
We're three friends from different generations, bringing you a mix of perspectives on everything from pop culture to life's big questions.
Whether we're laughing, debating, or just sharing stories, this is your space to feel like you're right here with us. No filters, no script, just real conversation.
So, whether you're driving, doing chores, or just unwinding, pull up a seat, grab your favorite drink, and join the conversation.
You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. So let's jump into what we got on today's agenda, ladies. So I would absolutely love to talk about friendships, relationships through different generations, because there's so many different ways that through different generations in time, depending on what pop culture is, like you were saying earlier, how pop culture can change things. There's so many different ways that influence how we interact with each other, how we communicate with each other. And I think it would be interesting if we dove into that. So one of the things that I would love to start talking about is one of the things I've noticed through people with my age is I feel like we don't have as many strong connections as we once used to have, if that makes sense, with social media. So in my generation, I feel like we have a ton of acquaintances. Like, for example, when I still had Facebook, there's people that would have like 1,500 quote unquote friends on their Facebook. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, this, and that. And I remember when I was at work, there was one of the old timer journeymen. And I was like, oh yeah, I said, I got a buddy that, this, and that. And he was like, are you actually friends with him? Or is it like just somebody that you follow on social media that you're saying that you're friends with? Because he was like, is that legit? Is that a real, or is it just a, hey, come and go, it's cool right now, versus having that lifelong friendship that I feel like some people used to have much easier in earlier times versus what they are now. Like, for example, my mom, she had a friend that she was friends with since third grade. And I feel like they would talk on the phone and listen to each other breathe when I was growing up. Like, that's how tight they were. And I've never had something like that. So I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like a generational type of situation, or if it's just how I interact with people. So I was just curious what your guys' thoughts were on that.
Well, you're definitely right about Facebook. Just because someone's your Facebook friend, like that doesn't mean that they're their friend at all. I almost feel also that there's not an English word for what, when someone is not quite an acquaintance, but they're more of a casual friend, but they're not a friend. There's no word for that in between.
Right.
For that person, it's not an acquaintance, like someone you kind of know,
right?
But it's someone that you're kind of at arm's length with, friend, not someone you share your life and intimate parts of yourself with. That's a really good question, Maria. I'm curious on your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I think friendship should be defined. I know a lot of people. I have very few friends. Because friendship to me means total trust in that person. So I think in today's time, with everything being social media, I don't think people really know what friendship is.
Yeah.
Friendship is like, to me, if I get a call at 2:00 in the morning that someone I know and they need a friend.
Yeah.
Or that I can call them at 2:00 in the morning and say, hey, such and such, that's a friend. And I don't think that since social media has become so popular, that people even know what a friend is.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a few years back when my grandson, when he was probably, 14, 15, he's 18 now, I was having a conversation with him, and he was telling me his mother had allowed him on social media. And like you were talking, oh, my gosh, I have all these friends, yada, yada, yada. And I said, Hunter, honey, they're not your friends. You don't know them. They're just people on the other end of your computer. And he was like, no, they're my friends. I said, honey, trying to explain to him, these are not your friends. You do not know them.
Right.
And so I agree that in this time that that the dynamics have changed immensely.
Yeah.
Immensely.
It sounds like I'm hearing you say also that there's an informational gap on not only really knowing what a true friend is, but how to create a friendship. How do you know that somebody
Yes.
is your friend? How do you really know that?
And it goes back to the old sayings, and I think it started way back. Like, okay, I'm dating myself now, in high school or even middle school, because I moved around so much. I've always said I know a lot of people, but what I would do is if I thought someone had the possibility of being my friend, I would tell them something that was a secret. And not necessarily that it was, but it was more a ploy.
Right.
Can they keep it?
And is it going to get back to me? Yeah.
So if they kept it and it didn't get back to me over a period of time, then I would be friends with that
is
person.
an interesting way of testing the waters. So when you did that, would you actually tell them something that was true, or was it like, I'm just going to throw this out there?
And more times than not, it wasn't true.
Yeah.
What? Oh, okay. I was with you until you said that. I'm going to start with a lie. No, but there's something to it. I think there's good, like, to give them a kernel of trust
Yeah.
and seeing what they do with that seed. Because they could end up being a really good friend. Like,
Yeah.
what do they do with it? Did it come back to other people? Did that person seriously consider? Did they take it seriously? Did they take it as an honor? And were they trustworthy with that little piece of what I told them?
Yeah.
Well, I think as a child, you use a lie. As an adult, I use the truth,
Right.
because it's a different scenario. As a kid, your thinking is different from when you become an adult. But I'm not a trust. I don't trust many people. I don't. Yeah, it's a thing with me.
Absolutely.
It's a thing with me. I've been told I have trust problems.
Well, that's a huge part of friendship, right? And because once you lose trust, it's like, forget it. Forget it. Because I heard somebody use a really good example the other day that they probably got from another person, but they said trust is literally, it's like a bucket of water. And once you lose it, you dump the whole bucket out, and then building it back up is basically like putting a drop of water back in at a time, building it back up to where it can be full again, which makes total sense. Because once you break trust, it's like, whoa.
Well, I think you can break trust, but and when that happens, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not someone that you know anymore or associate with. I think you can still associate with the
Right.
person and so on and so forth. You just don't trust them with
The deeper levels.
the deeper levels.
You're just going to give them the highlight reel.
Yeah, for me, there's a saying, I wish I could credit who said it, but I really do live by this. It's when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
So if I did that little kernel test, little seed test, and gave it to someone and they were not careful with it, I'm like, I believe you. Thank you for showing me. That only cost me a little bit of an investment, a little scratch, not a wound.
Right.
And I will believe you. You're not worthy of my time and friendship. I'm going to keep you right here at Arms Bay.
Yeah. And I feel like with the generation that's a lot younger than me, like they just throw everything out there.
Yeah.
Like deep, dark secrets. Like, I'm just going to whip this out there to the entire world. Or even if they just meet somebody, it's like if I tell you this deep, dark secret, I'm going to get that immediate validation or just something along those lines. But it's like, that's such a dangerous game to play. Cause it's like you said, Marie, it's like, if you don't really know someone or know what
Right.
secrets they can keep, especially when they're younger, cause that, to me, that's something that's built with character over time.
Yes.
Right. So the younger you are, it makes it even more, not saying that young people can't be trustworthy, but character, you're not born with character, it's built, right? So,
Well, it is a part of building character.
yeah.
And again, I think it goes back to my own personality. Is when that happened, even as an adult, I face it head on. It's like, hey, I said this to you, and this is what happened, and that it's not right. It's not right.
Yeah. And then they didn't own up to it. if they did break it. They weren't like, dude, I totally let this slip. It's my bad. I was just in conversation, got caught up in the heat of the moment. Maybe they had a couple too many toddies. You know, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where if you break somebody's trust, but you own up to it, that's one thing, right? Because that's you saying, I value this relationship. Like Marie, we've had situations like that where it was like, yo, hey, I messed that up. You know what I mean? But it's because we have that value in the relationship to say, hey, I screwed up. So that's another thing that makes me wonder if somebody did break your trust and they did come to you and they were like, hey, I messed this up. Would you still be able to keep that same level of relationship, or would it change to, yeah, you're moving out or more outward in the circle?
For me,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done.
And I know that about you. So, but
Yeah, I would still social,
yeah.
but there
Right.
would be no closeness.
Yeah.
There would be no sharing of how I feel or what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
I would be that person like a Sunday morning. So, how's everything going? Fine. Everything's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. For me, I think it depends. It depends also if the person owned up to it, or if I'm confronting them and then they're at that point
Yeah.
where they have to confess that they did,
Yeah.
and just what it is and how long the friendship is. There's other considerations.
Right.
But it doesn't either way, it for me wouldn't go back to 100% to where it was. There's a break there. There's a consequence. Maybe that person's kind of on the shelf for a little bit.
Right.
And over time, let's see their character and let's see how I feel about this.
Right.
It just depends on the situation, because I've erred in friendship too, and sometimes it's just like you really don't mean it. You accidentally slip something out that the person told you in confidence. You know, it happens.
It does.
I think it depends, but it just doesn't. There's no way it goes back just 100% the way it was. Even the person's sorry and they've apologized. It's never quite, some of the bumps like that are never quite the same, which is, I think, why there are sometimes changes, losses in friendships, ebbs and flows. This person was really close. Maybe they were a best friend, and then they get promoted to acquaintance.
Have you guys ever had that where you've had a really deep friendship, thought that, you know, hey, you're my ride or die, we're going all the way to the end, Thelma and Louise in it, just going straight off? Well, I mean, that's kind of dark, but like, but you know, like have that level of friendship that ended abruptly.
Oh, I think so on my part. I think the thing that severed it for me was something that I've told you, and then in a discussion where we have not agreed, you bring that up in reference. And it's like, are you kidding me now? Like,
Yeah.
I told you something in confidence and you're using it against me because you don't agree with what we're discussing about. Yeah, that has happened to me. And so that's, I guess, Julia, that's why in my mind, there would be no building that trust back up. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but I wouldn't give the person a second chance.
Wow.
It's not that I wouldn't socialize
Right,
with them,
right.
but there would be no confidence between
Right.
us. You know,
I totally
I
get
can
that.
serve or work with anyone.
Yeah.
But I do agree, Jules, if the person in error and came to me and said, oh my gosh, I said this and I'm so sorry, that would mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
That would mean, okay, we're human.
Right.
We make mistakes. And agreed, I have done that too. Like, oh, why would I say that? You know, but come to me and own up right away.
Right.
You know, that would make all the difference in the world, because to me, they're being honest. It's part of being the trust.
It is.
Listen, I made a mistake, and,
Yeah.
you know, which we all do.
Right.
But I guess I turn it around that, you know, when something is done like that, or it's intentional, or with no remorse,
No, that's a big one.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Do any of you have like lifelong friendships, like friendships that you've had for like either from growing up or just for decades and decades?
I did until about a year ago.
A year
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I did. I had somebody that I was very, very close with, that I would tell everything. Like we told each other like the deepest stuff. Like, for example, when she became pregnant with a child, she called me first before she called the guy and was like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, "What?" And you know what I mean? Like, that's how deep our relationship was. We told each other everything. We just had this level of trust with each other that was just through the roof. And we were very similar. We agreed on everything the same way. We had the same sense of humor. We would eat, we could look at each other and read each other's entire face. And we just, it was an amazing friendship. But I started growing into a different season of my life, I guess you could say. And it was a lot of partying, a lot of drinking. Every time we'd hang out, it would just be going out to the bars, going out to eat, like just getting super dressed up and dolled up to go out. And that was what we did when we hung out with each other. So there wasn't really much outside of that. And then when I started moving away from that more and more and more, obviously, because I'm like changing, I'm doing new seasons in my life. Like, I've got to think about my marriage now. I've got to think about my job. I've got to think about other interests that are more important to me. And I'm like, hey, I'm not coming out here to do that. And then this person slowly started drifting more and more away. And then I tried getting a hold of them after the holiday last year and found out that they blocked me.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, I had no idea that they blocked me. Like, they messaged me happy birthday, and I was working like an absurd amount of hours. I was leading in 2 different outreach things, and then I just had an immense amount of stuff on my plate. So that she texted me in the middle of the day while I was sleeping, because I was working night shift at the time, and I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'll respond back later. And I just forgot. And she blocked me after that. And it was just insane, because I was like, wow. So and it wasn't like a block on social media. I don't have social media. Like, she blocked my phone number.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. It's really hard. And it's honestly, in some ways, it's still hard because of how huge of a portion of my life that person was in. But it's also one of those things where I'm not going to argue with a closed door. I'm not going to fight it. You've made your intentions clear to me. My door is open. Mm-hmm. Your phone number is not blocked on my phone. You know where I live. You know how to get a hold of me. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely tough. And I got to be honest with you, there's still some ways where I'm definitely probably still mourning that. I am still mourning that relationship. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a tough one.
Well, sometimes friendships don't seem to survive either major life changes or major life changes like that. Like she's having a baby. That's a life change.
Yeah.
You drawing closer to Christ. Yeah. That's a life change. It requires different, boundaries and settings. And it's sad when you think something's going to, survive that, grow with it, and then it doesn't.
Well, that's just like a marriage too, right? Like, I feel like that's why so many marriages don't survive. It's because what worked for one season doesn't work for another. Mm-hmm. And when people change and grow, they have a tendency to not bring the people with them if those people aren't changing and growing as well. So you got to just constantly be navigating through these seasons of like, okay, this worked for me when I was 22, let's cut to 12 years later. This ain't working for me anymore. So it's time to change, adapt, grow, overcome. And I'm not saying that as like a goal-oriented thing. It's just even in the day-to-day thing with how you handle relationships, how you communicate, what you do with your spare time. It's one of those things where it's like, how do you cut off from that? Or do you just stop talking to each other? Have you guys ever had that where you actually cut it off? Or did you just stop talking to each other?
Well, yeah, I have. But I've also had 2 very, very good friends. They're both passed now. Mm-hmm. And they kind of crossed over. One was a friend of mine right from high school. Yeah, we were very close. And so, but she passed, well, she must have been, I'd say in her 40s. Yeah, she must have been. And through thick and thin, her and I mean, she was the one, we drank, but it was more than that.
Right.
It was, it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was more than that. And then in the meantime, my husband's stepbrother had married, and his wife and I got very, very close. And even after they divorced and stuff, we were still very good friends. I mean, we lived in Florida for 13 years. She came down, stayed with us and so on and so forth. And she has passed too now, a good 20 years. And so I haven't found that kind of relationship since then. And I think more so because of changing in seasons. And now, that season of becoming a Christian. So it's like I have friends, but I also feel like they really don't know me because they didn't know me before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they really know the person that I am. So that kind of affects the friendship, but yet it doesn't. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does.
But I've had friends that, okay, I'll tell you a good one. You both know that I've been married twice. So my first husband, he liked to mess around. I mean, he just did. It was who he was. But anyway, I was all right with that until it was a friend.
Ooh, whoa.
Whoa, a friend did that to you?
Whoa.
And of course, she came to me, it's a mistake. I'm like,
A mistake?
Are you kidding? Like, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
That's not a mistake. Like I forgot to set my alarm. That's a mistake. Not you don't get to that level. And I made a mistake.
Yeah. I tripped and fell on his penis.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's,
It doesn't
I'm
happen that way.
I'm looking at the person, and she could not understand why we could not be friends after that.
What?
I said the words. I said, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a hard pass.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like,
What a betrayal from both.
Yeah.
well, him, I expected it.
No,
It wasn't
it's
the
still-
first time. It sure wasn't the last.
Right.
But that's not the point either.
Right.
The point of it is you and I have had these conversations.
Oh, so you told her about how you
course.
felt about it and you were vulnerable with her and then she
Yes.
did that?
Yes.
What, bro? Wow.
I mean, but even if she hadn't, everybody knows it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's a betrayal.
Who does that with their best friend's husband or wife? Who does that?
Yeah. And you can't blame alcohol on this one. I've heard people say that, I was drunk and that's what happened.
Blame it
No,
on
I'm
the
sorry.
juice. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just the opposite. I think when you're drunk, that's when the truth really does come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if those feelings were there and then you getting lit.
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of those deals where what my grandmother used to say, a street angel and a house devil. And we all know that. Nobody knows what goes on behind
Yes.
closed doors. But
Yeah.
so out in the world, oh my gosh, he was this great guy.
Right.
And it's true. Everybody did like him. It's true. And I thought, are you like kidding me right now?
Yeah.
We've had this discussion. He's had affairs, and you just like what? Thought I'd try it out? I mean,
Right.
What do you? And so yeah.
Like an amusement ride.
Yeah. And I think, Jules, according to some of the things that you said, there's just certain hurts. And just the same thing with your friend.
Right.
There's certain hurts.
It's so true because there's just some things that you man, I just still can't wrap my head around that. Like, I'm so blown away by that. But if I ever had that happen to me in my life, it's like you said, I don't know if I could maintain that relationship. Not that I would be in a place of unforgiveness, because to me, that's like just drinking a cup of poison that you poured for them, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't be a place of unforgiveness as much of we can't come back up to that plateau ever again. Like that's just that you are officially out of the circle. And you know what's funny? What made me think of when you said street angel, house devil, is it made me think of social media today, because when you see social media and you see these lives of people and they're trying to depict, air quotes, who they are.
Yes.
But it's the furthest thing from the truth. Right.
It's a facade.
Yeah. And it's like you're literally just getting the highlight reel of, oh my goodness, like I just did all my hair and makeup, or look at this, or it's not real. Like that person is going to wake up in the morning and not have their teeth brushed. Their hair is going to be a mess. Their mascara is going to be all over their face. Like, let's be legit. Let's be real, And we have this highlight reel and we don't see who people really are. And it's how can you honestly make true, meaningful, lasting relationships based off of this facade that's just not even, it's like a veil. You're not really seeing who the true person is. And it's like you said, Marie, I don't have a lot of close friends either. I have like a very small group of tight-knit people who I consider real friends. And the way I look at it is that like my door is always open to having more friends for sure. But there's also this part of me that's like,
Yeah.
you got to earn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't see anything wrong with a small group of friends. I think
No, for sure. Yeah.
I think that
It's a treasure.
That's the treasure. Yes. As to say, oh, everybody's my friend. Yeah, no. So, but
Maria, I just want to honor you for being so vulnerable. I know the viewers can't see it, but I when you were talking about your earlier friendships, I'm like, wow, like she's getting really, like there's some real emotion behind it. And then when you said what this particular betrayal that happened to you, which I actually did not know, then I feel like we just all got some insight as to why you hold trust as such a high esteem and how that's been a protection for you too. I mean, there's wisdom in that as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, just honor you about that. And also, and it's interesting because I think there's also other things that were in situations like a tragic event, a funeral, that sometimes it takes a certain situation also to test to see if a person is a true friend.
That's
How
very
many
true.
people have had experience where someone has, passes away and like the friend that you thought was more casual is actually the most loving and loyal and faithful than the person that you would expect
100%.
that's been with you, that's like a best friend.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like also I feel like we just uncovered a topic that we can talk about even more nuanced and talk a little bit more, and maybe we will.
I think that's a great idea. I there is so much that we could dive into, and I really don't want to leave this topic. I don't know how you ladies feel. So I would love to park this right here, and I would love to have our viewers kind of catch up, and I'd love to break into this next week.
yes.
Because I feel like we could really get into this after just how deep we just got with the topics that we had.
We got deep fast.
Oh yeah, but that's what we do.
That's
Yes.
right.
That's how we roll.
Yes.
For sure. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We appreciate your support. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We love you guys. Please send us emails, questions, because we would love to dive into what you guys want to talk about. We would love to. And we're 3 people. There's so many different facets, different eyes, information. I really thought of this while you were talking about that today. This really struck my heart here. We would love to hear from you guys, and we would love to talk about it. So please contact us, leave a comment, email us, and Jules actually has that email address as well.
Yes, it's podcast3generations@gmail.com. So podcast, and then so podcast PODCASTTHREE generations GENERATIONS @gmail.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. We love you.